Hey Cleveland, your favorite show is on. Good Day with Olivia begins right now.
Like, who's Olivia?
Who's Olivia? You know, that girl on the radio. You know, the little short girl. She ain't nothing but 3 feet tall. You know, her love for the city is greater than her stature. Give us a joke, give us a joke, give us a joke. She's so crazy. Lighten up a little bit.
She's my favorite host on the KZ
And good
radio
morning.
television
Welcome back to the
network.
Good Day with Olivia show. I'm your host, Olivia Winstead here, keeping you informed, engaged, and connected. Dear sister, mother, or friend, if you are tuned in this morning, please know that this show today is especially for you. Join me in this morning's conversation about sisterhood. Grab your coffee and listen closely for details for the upcoming Women's Conference. Your brokenness is part of the plan. And get ready to discuss and dissect such topics such as women's empowerment, women in media, friendships among women, and also get ready to address some barriers in developing and maintaining healthy relationships with other women, such as the Mean Girls phenomenon. Leading the conversation this morning are 2 very special guests. The first is award-winning news personality Danita Harris from Cleveland's own Channel 5 WEWS. And the second is representative from the Your Brokenness is Part of the Planning Committee, and my mother, Monique Witherspoon. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, so happy for you guys to be here this morning. Before we jump right into the topic, I have to give some news updates. Cleveland, if you're looking for new job opportunities out there, the Cleveland Police Department, they are now accepting applications for Cleveland schools crossing guards. So if you're interested, go visit the city website. And if you're selected for employment, you are eligible for health benefits through the city of Cleveland. So there's an opportunity for you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes. So, Danita, let's
Yes.
begin with you.
Okay.
You have been very busy this week. You were part of the Black Business Expo event that happened last week, was it?
Well, Channel 5 was a part of that. We had a representative with Larice Purnell, the real Black Friday.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to do it. I went on vacation, but we had Lauren Wilson was from our station. And just a big shout out to Larice Purnell. I heard it was fantabulous.
Yeah.
So many people came out, in the city to just celebrate entrepreneurship and Black businesses being owned. But anything that the city is doing, I always try to lend my voice, always try to lend my time, especially when I believe in what is being done.
Yeah. Well, the community certainly appreciates it. And you have this Shine shirt on. I'm feeling this shirt.
Are
What
you
is this all
feeling the
about?
shirt,
I
Olivia?
am.
You're feeling the shirt. Okay,
Yeah.
so this is Shine. This is my nonprofit organization. I started, will be 2 years old in November. And Shine stands for S, you're special to God. H, you've been handpicked by God to do something unique. I, you will influence others to choose God by your lifestyle. N, you are needed in the kingdom of God. And E, you will excel in excellence through God. These are women who shine. And so we meet once a month at the Embassy Suites in Beechwood, usually the first or second Saturday of the month. We have a website, shine-now.org, for those of you who want to log on. And basically, women of faith come together. There are 3 parts. 1, I give women practical tools. Church is great. We love God, but a lot of times we leave and we go home and we still have issues. We got bills to pay, or we have mental issues. We're dealing with things and we don't have the resources. So I bring people in. We talk about our health. Cleveland Clinic is very helpful to Shine. They come in, talk to us about different things with our bodies. I bring in life coaches to teach you positive self-talk to deal with your self-esteem. We do financial literacy. Some people don't know how to balance a checkbook. They don't know how to budget. What's up with your credit score? How important is that? So I try to bring these people in in to give them practical tools. Then there's a philanthropic tool. We sow into a nonprofit organization each month that's helping hurting women or young girls. So it teaches women to sow into things that are working, and it makes them feel like they're needed. You can bring something. It doesn't have to be monetary. We do in-kind donations, so a lot of times we just did a daycare. We adopted and bought books and blankets, for the daycare. So it doesn't have to be big, but you need to feel like you can give something.
Yes.
And then there's the empowerment message that I give each month, where God gives me a theme and I give a message. We do giveaways. We have a great time. So it's a lot of fun.
Wonderful. And Mom, you've been very busy planning for Your Brokenness is Not Part of the Plan conference. Yes, so could you tell us, what have you been doing?
Well, part of the planning committee, we've, of course, been reaching out to women who have impact in other women's lives, who are willing to share their testimony, how they've overcome. And so we've been very diligent about that. So we have a great group of women, including Danita Harris, who will be our keynote speaker. But it's a very timely event. The women who have coordinated it, when we sit at the table and we pray and we go over the activities of the day, so many of us have been through so many things. And even most recently, one of the chairpersons who the Lord just impressed it on her heart that she had to push with this event, recently lost her daughter, her only child. And in the midst of all this planning, and so she's in a broken place, but the press and the push, even in the middle of her grieving, she's still pushing and pressing, and that's what it's all about. That's what this walk is about. Even while we go through our testimony and how we walk it out, it does impact. And as Danita was talking about Shine, our walk means something, to people, because folks watch how we handle life. And even in our broken places, not to say we have to act like Superwoman, because I'm not a Superwoman, but it's how we walk out our pain, and people are actually watching us, and it impacts people. Our testimony is amazing. It's amazing. So we've just been very busy making sure that we're transparent, and so that we can convey God's message to other women.
Very good. Wonderful. I have so many questions about this event, and we'll get into that shortly.
Yes, ma'am.
But first, I'd like to take some time to get to know the both of you. Danita, you're not a Cleveland native, are you?
I'm not a Cleveland native. I was born in Chester, Pennsylvania, right outside of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Born and raised there. And I lived in the tri-state area, so I've lived in Delaware. I've lived in New Jersey. I went to the University of Maryland. That's where I graduated, from the University of Maryland in College Park. Lived in D.C. for a long time, worked at BET, and actually came to Cleveland from BET. So I've been a couple cities. I feel like Cleveland is my second home. My parents moved here about 30 some years ago, and then I came after. So Cleveland definitely feels like home to me, because I've been here now for over 20 years. But I am originally a Pennsylvania girl.
Well, Mom,
Yes,
are you a Cleveland native?
I'm a Cleveland native, born and raised.
Yeah.
131st and Harvard. Woo-hoo.
All right. All right. So tell me, what do you love most about your city?
The thing that I love most about Cleveland is we have a lot of diversity here.
Yeah.
And even when I talk to folks in Columbus about Cleveland, Cleveland has a personality. And I don't care where you go in Cleveland, you don't have to buy a passport, you don't have to spend money. There is a taste of different cultures in Cleveland. If you want a Spanish vibe, the West Side is rich in that culture. Slavic Village is rich, and the Polish culture. So our communities are very rich. The Huff area, rich in African American tradition and history. So you can, and every community has its own personality. You could blindfold me, drop me off someplace, and I'll say, hey, I know where I'm at.
That is very true.
And it's very rich, and it's very like, it's not made up. People market and they build,
Right.
themes and communities, but it's so organic. It's just natural and rich here. So that's what I love.
And
most.
being a transplant, you adapt to Cleveland. Cleveland doesn't adapt to you. Okay, is that something I've
Yes.
learned? You're going to come in and you're going to learn their ways. It's not necessarily they're trying to learn you. And that's what I discovered, that coming from Washington, D.C., it's a different pace than Cleveland. And so Cleveland's not really impressed with whatever you think you're bringing to them. You better be impressed with what they already have here.
That's interesting. Okay.
And so, but
interesting.
once I find that Cleveland, the people, what I love about Cleveland, the people. The people are so loyal. If they love you, they love you. They're loyal. They are loyal to you.
Everybody loves you because I tried to send you a friend request and Facebook blocked me.
They blocked you?
Yes, because you have exceeded the amount of friends.
I'm going to start. People been telling me you need to start a second page. I need another page. I need to start a second page.
I don't know who do I have to? Do I have to go through an agent to get you?
I'm going to have to delete somebody to get you on because we're here now. So I'm just going to have to delete.
Maybe my mom or Mr. James.
Yes.
I see they're your friends.
You are funny.
So let's go ahead and start discussing. Your brokenness is not part of the plan.
It is a part.
Oh,
of
what?
The plan.
Oh, excuse me. Your brokenness is part of the plan.
Yes.
Can you explain the background behind this conference? The title, the reason you're putting it together, and who you're putting it together for.
Okay. Well, the event is being sponsored by Rehoboth Temple Church of Christ in Columbus, Ohio, where Apostle Barry is the pastor. So he and First Lady Barry are underwriting and helping us coordinate this. But Danita touched on something a minute ago when she talked about, being, we're not always super women. I forget the word that you used, and it resonated with me. But a lot of times people think that you have to put on this facade, this show, and to show that you are strong. And sometimes we have to let those wounds, be show, and so that we can properly heal. And there's healing that needs to occur even in the church. And that's the message that we want to convey, is that we don't have to be pretentious. I have wounds. Yeah. I've gone through things that make me cry. I've recently gone through things that, in the loss of my mother, your grandmother, and that was very difficult. That grief did something to me. And I can't help anybody until I help myself. And that's the message that we really want to convey to people. Let God begin to heal you. And you don't have to, I don't have to put on a face when I go to church. Sister Monique is so strong. Sister Monique is broken. And God is trying to do something to heal and build me. Yeah. And that's what that's the whole message in the conference, is that acknowledge where you're broken so God can begin the process of healing. Yeah.
And now this conference, is this for women? This is a women's conference.
It's a women's conference, but they're not turning away anybody.
Okay.
If a brother shows up at the door.
Okay.
Can we just say men go through brokenness too?
Yeah.
It's just not gender specific.
Yes.
Right.
Yep. So it just happens to be the women's ministry is putting it on.
Right.
Yeah.
But nobody's going to turn a man away if he comes in, because the word of God is the word of God. Is whether you are boy, girl, man, woman. Come on in.
All right, fellas, you are not excluded from this event, so check it out. So let me ask you this: where is it? It's being held in Columbus,
Yes.
Ohio.
At the Embassy Suites by Port Columbus Airport.
Yeah.
September 1st. So join us from 9 until 4:30 p.m.
Okay.
on that day. The tickets right now are $50. Because we've passed the early bird phase. So, and you have, I believe, do you have our flyer? Or
No,
is that
this
Shine?
is Shine.
Okay, and so I will make sure, I share the contact information with everybody before we're done.
Okay. Is there an event page or a website they can go to?
Yes, on Facebook.
Okay.
Okay, so you can go to Facebook to Rehoboth Temple Church of Christ, their Facebook page, and all of the information is there.
Very good. Moving right into women empowerment. How is this conference? How does this conference embody? How does it embody women's empowerment? Like, how are you how are you promoting the empowerment of women in this conference?
Well, one, it's women reaching women.
Yes.
Women in leadership who are reaching back to other women. We're not there. We're not looking down on anybody. You talked about the mean girl phenomenon.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a very real thing, unfortunately, because sometimes we're not very kind to each other. But these are women who are supporting women, women who have experienced abuse, women who have faced suicide. There will be a mother and daughter there, and the daughter attempted suicide, but it's turned into a message. That mess has turned into a message for her and her mother. So, facing mental illness and suicide and things that are very real for a lot of people. So these are folks who have experienced debt and have recovered, from being in debt to being resourceful people, maintaining their wealth and now teaching other people how to maintain their wealth.
Wonderful.
So, exposing, sometimes we don't want folks to know where we've been.
Right.
And these are women who are just saying, I've been there, I got the battle wounds, but I survived.
You can't empower people. The key to empowerment is first owning where you don't have the power. So you can't empower women who don't want to be transparent, who don't want to be honest. This area of my life is where I don't have power. So in order for me to empower you, first you've got to own it. And then you have to own your role in where you're weak in your life. You have to own what caused your brokenness. If there is not a level of self-honesty, and I mean going to that place within you that hey, I manipulated that. Hey, I played a role in this. Not everything is our fault that happens to us, but some things are. And some things God brings us to because he wakes us up, because he doesn't want you to keep making those same mistakes. He doesn't want you to continue to keep going down that same path. So he'll wake you up. And so I think part of brokenness is, and this whole empowerment thing, is that you first and foremost, you have to be honest with who you are. You've got to be okay with who you are and what you have done. Then you have got to accept God's forgiveness, and then you've got to forgive yourself. Then you cannot allow other people to pull you into past things that God has already forgiven you for. You can't allow the mean girl squad to make you feel bad about something you've moved on from. The only thing, and I get on people, they say, oh, well, her girlfriend, she was better, but her girlfriend pulled it out of her. Well, if her girlfriend made her go back, it's because it was still there. Nobody can make you go back to something that no longer exists. So it is a mind thing, and you have to be willing to do the work. Conferences are great, but a lot of times we come for that 8 to 5, emotional experience. But if you don't activate what you learn and make it a life change, and that all happens here. See, women, we focus a lot on emotions. We get emotional. We fall into our emotions. But the thing is, it doesn't get here until it starts here. Your mind is broke. Your mind's broke. Before your heart breaks, your mind broke, which caused your heart to break. Something happened up here. So we have to acknowledge the power of the mind, and we must shift our mindset to accept where we are and to receive the healing, to be empowered, to move on.
I'm really excited for this conference. Are you going to give me a ticket?
You got a ticket.
Look, Mr. James, right?
Mr. James said, hey, look, I'm a brother. I'm coming. Okay.
So when we usually think about women's empowerment, we think about financial equality in the educational systems, and in politics, in comparison to men, equality to men. We usually think about that, but also what women's empowerment is, or what it takes, what it requires is, yes, women's participation in what's happening in like the political system, educational system, and all the systems I just mentioned, but also participating and engaging with other women. So doing exactly what you're doing with this conference, talking to one another, encouraging one another, and being inclusive to all. You guys agree with that?
Yes.
So let's talk about media now. So both of you, both, I'm a woman in the media field. You're on Channel 5 News, and you actually you started off in media at the ABC.
It's ABC affiliate in Columbus, WSYX, many moons ago.
Many moons ago, but still the experience is there nonetheless. Now, media is a great platform to empower other women. So let's talk about women empowerment in media. Is it there?
Some places, I'll be very real with you. Some places, some women in media, you have a few that they feel they have arrived, and I've got mine, and I don't need to reach back and help somebody else. Then there are women like myself who I've not arrived. I'm always striving to be better at what I do, and I make it a point to help students and encourage young women who want to come into this field to tell them the truth. And I think that's part of it too. Be real, be honest about what's going on in the media. This is a tough position. People look at you in the media and they say, oh, you're on TV, it's lights, camera, action. No, there's a cost to this position. And so I think the empowerment, once you have achieved certain levels, is to help that young woman, to be honest with her, to let her know, especially my African American young sisters, that it's not enough that you just read Essence. It's not enough that you just know Vibe. It's not enough that you just watch BET all day long. You need to read Time and you need to read Newsweek. You need to know a little bit about gardening. You need to read People magazine. You need to know a little bit about everything.
Yes.
Why? So you can participate in conversations.
Yeah.
That's the key. We kind of rule ourselves out when we just want to deal with our world and only our lives. And that's when I worked at BET, that was something. I worked at BET. It was a Black-owned network. My product was Black. Everything I produced was Black. It was my culture. It was what I lived. When you go into mainstream media, it's a different ball game. Okay? Yeah. It's like now I got to broaden my horizon. I have to learn more about things so that I can participate in discussions. And you never want to feel like you're in a group of people and you have nothing to say. You have nothing to contribute. That's a terrible feeling. So I empower young women or young brothers that come shadow me. Read everything. Know a little bit about everything. Watch CNN, do USA Day. You can know your entertainment. You can know what's happening in the Black world, but you better know what's happening in the world.
Right.
It's key. It's key.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your experience in media many moons ago. Now you, so, Danita, you're in media today, and I'm sure your career has transformed throughout the years. I don't know when you began your career, but I'm sure it's transformed.
Yes, it has.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mom, you got into media during a time when there weren't a lot of African American women in the market where you were working. Can you talk about that experience?
Columbus was a different market back in the 80s, and the way women were perceived was like different, because it was all about being skinny. It was all about having lots of long hair, and and oftentimes the complexion. And I remember I was in the newsroom years ago with the assistant news director, and we had like televisions in the newsroom, and we would watch our station and our competition. And so our competition that we were looking at this particular time was the NBC affiliate. And at that time, there was a black woman. Her name was Angela, or her name is Angela Pace. And she was like the first African-American woman to hold the anchor seat. So, you know, she wasn't on the weekends. She had that 6 o'clock seat on
Monday through Friday.
Monday through Friday. And I remember, and I was so proud of Angela because she was a beautiful brown woman. At that time, she was wearing her hair short, and she wasn't about, you know, all of the extra, and just dynamic in what she did. And I'm standing there, and I'm proud, you know, as little producer, and so my news director, the assistant news director, said she'll never last in this market. And I said, why do you say that? And he said, because she's too ethnic looking. So I said, well, what else is a black woman supposed to look like? And my mindset, I was wounded. So being in that environment, I was really wounded because I'm like, am I going to make it? Am I going to make it? And what I did was, some time went on, and I ended up leaving the environment. And the lesson that I took away from that is like, nobody's ever going to run me away from where God has placed me. So when I go, it's because he's opened a door for me to go. But I left a platform, and I love news. I still do. I like watching and all the behind the scenes stuff. But I allowed somebody to influence my thoughts about myself.
I like to go into the Mean Girls phenomenon.
Okay.
And I hate that we're running out of time. But are you guys familiar with this phenomenon? The Mean Girls phenomenon. Have you ever heard?
I've heard of it.
Okay. So for the audience members out there who have never heard of the Mean Girls phenomenon, many articles and literature it's described in many articles in literature, such as Queen Bees and Wannabes by Rosalind Wiseman. And the behaviors are portrayed in movies like Mean Girls, which was a hit movie in 2004 starring Lindsay Lohan. And what it is female aggression, formation of cliques, is the you can't sit with us attitude, and it's actually like a ritual of asserting or establishing power or self-affirmation. So what are your thoughts about the Mean Girls phenomenon? How do we begin to address it?
Well, first, you can't let the Mean Girl phenomenon, basically mean girls are insecure women. Okay, let me just say you're insecure about yourself, so you feel like you have to be mean-spirited and tear down what somebody else is doing. I find that it's a lot here in Cleveland, and I will go into it like a lot of the women's ministries or people are starting women's empowerment. You find this competition going on. Let me tell you something. I'm shining. My girlfriend Tamika Reese Sims, she's awakening. Daniela Lagon, she's winning. Dr. Yvonne Pointer, she's giving us hope in the Hope Haven. And we celebrate each other. So sometimes I need to shine, but sometimes I go to Tamika's because I need to be awakened. And sometimes I tap into Daniela because I need to win. A mean girl is insecure. A secure, confident woman stays open to receive from whatever is going to make her be better in her purpose. Right. So you have to go into it with the understanding that everybody's not going to co-sign your divine assignment. You don't need co-signers. God don't need co-signers. If you're looking for yes people, forget it. Let the mean girls stay that mean. Pray for them. But mean girls, I would invite you to come shine, come awaken, come be, because we're all here loving on each other and we're working it out the best way we know how with God's help. We don't have time for mean-spirited stuff because that's girls' play, not women.
All right.
Right. And we can't empower anyone being a mean girl, can we? No. And
if we want to, right?
We cannot.
Give me a high five.
If we want to make progress and we want to establish our place in life, then we have to be accepting of all, starting with ourselves.
Starting with yourself. That you hit the key. Start with you.
Well, Well, there you have it, Cleveland. You've been tuned into Good Day with Olivia. You've been listening to Danita Harris from Channel 5 and my mother, Monique Witherspoon, on the topic of sisterhood and women's empowerment. And if you're interested in your brokenness as part of the planned conference, please check out what website again?
The Rehoboth Temple Church of Christ, located in Columbus. And you can also reach out to me at area code 216-609-5993.
And remember, Cleveland, whatever your journey is, you have the resources, you have the support to get started right here. Your journey does not have to wait. And where you begin doesn't determine where you'll end. I'll see you next time, Cleveland. Tune in next week to Good Day with Olivia. This is Olivia signing off.